Imagine scrolling through TikTok and seeing your favorite influencers recommending a skincare routine that promises clear and glowing skin in just a few days. Shocking, isn't it? You trust them, you buy it, you try it. But instead of better skin that you were expecting, you end up with irritation, breakouts, or even long-term damage. Unfortunately, this is not a rare situation anymore. It has increasingly become common nowadays. So today, we're exploring the dark side of influencer marketing, where we focus on how TikTok influencers promote unsafe skincare and the ethical issues behind it. We'll also look into the real-life examples, as well as applying ethical frameworks, and discuss who is responsible and what should be done. So let's get into it.
TikTok has become one of the most influential platforms for beauty and skincare advice, with millions of users following influencers for daily routines and product recommendations. However, many of these influencers are not dermatologists nor trained professionals. For example, a current trend on TikTok involved influencers promoting the daily use of strong chemical exfoliants to achieve faster results. Therefore, according to dermatologists and skincare experts, overexfoliation can damage the skin barrier, as well as leading to irritation, sensitivity, and long-term skin issues.
The chemical burn. She has completely destroyed her skin barrier. It's going to be itchy, it's going to be red, she's going to peel. It's going to take 2 to 3 weeks for this to resolve.
Furthermore, despite these warnings, many followers copied these routines, trusting influencers without fully understanding the risks. There's other viral trends, for example, such as DIY skincare, using lemon or baking soda, which have also been criticized by medical professionals for being harmful. So what seems like simple advice online can actually have serious real-life consequences.
This brings us to the core ethical dilemma. Should influencers prioritize profit and popularity, or the safety and well-being of their audience? On one hand, influencers are paid to promote products and trends, often driven by brand partnerships and the pressure to stay relevant online. On the other hand, their followers trust them and frequently follow their advice without fully questioning it or understanding the potential risks. This creates a clear conflict between financial gain and ethical responsibility, where the interests of influencers may not align with the well-being of their audience. And at the center of this issue is trust. Once that trust is broken, the impact goes beyond just one product or trend.
And to better understand this issue, we can apply ethical frameworks. From a utilitarian perspective, actions are judged based on their overall consequences and whether they maximize benefit or minimize harm. In this case, while influencers and brands may benefit financially, a large number of consumers experience negative effects such as skin damage and misinformation. So overall, the outcome creates more harm than good, making it unethical from this perspective. From a deontological perspective, the focus is on duty and moral obligations rather than outcomes. Influencers have a responsibility to be honest and avoid causing harm, especially when their advice affects people's health. By promoting unsafe skincare practices, they fail to uphold this duty, which makes their actions unethical regardless of the outcome. And from a stakeholder perspective, we consider the impact on all parties involved. Consumers are harmed, influencers gain profit and visibility, brands increase sales, and platforms benefit from higher engagement. However, the most vulnerable group, the consumers, carries the greatest risk and faces the most negative consequences. This highlights how influencer marketing can shift power away from qualified experts toward untrained individuals, increasing the risk of harm. So overall, this situation shows that the ethical balance is not being maintained, as the interests of consumers are being overlooked in favor of profit and engagement.
Looking more closely at stakeholders, we can better understand the overall impact of this issue. Consumers face physical harm, such as skin damage, as well as financial loss, from purchasing ineffective or harmful products. Influencers, on the other hand, gain money, visibility, and popularity through promotions and brand deals. Brands benefit from increased sales and exposure, often without directly facing the consequences of how the product is certainly used. TikTok as a platform gains higher engagement and revenue as these trends attract more views and interactions. At the same time, governments and regulators are responsible for protecting consumers and ensuring that marketing practices remain ethical and safe. This creates an imbalance where those with the least power, the consumers in this case, are the most affected, while those benefiting face fewer immediate consequences. And that's what makes this issue ethically serious.
And now I'm going to talk to you about government regulations in the UAE regarding ads and sponsorships and paid partnerships. There are regulations in the UAE that require influencers to clearly disclose sponsored content using tags like #ad or #paid partnership, and they must also hold an official license from the National Media Council. These rules are designed to protect consumers from misleading advertising and hidden promotions. But in the UAE, it goes beyond just transparency. If an influencer posts a misleading claim, and especially on platforms like TikTok, the consequences can be serious. For example, under the UAE cybercrime and consumer protection laws, false advertising can lead to fines ranging from 20,000 dirhams up to 500,000 dirhams, and in some cases even imprisonment. If the influencer is unlicensed or fails to disclose properly, penalties can reach up to 1 million dirhams, along with the account suspension or business shutdown. However, despite these strict penalties, the regulations mainly focus on disclosure, on legal compliance, not on verifying whether the product itself is safe or not. This means if an influencer can still promote a harmful skin product, as long as he discloses that it's an ad and he discloses that it's a sponsorship, he won't get into any trouble, even if it's harmful, because the law in the UAE says that you have to disclose it. You don't hold any responsibility whether you promote a product and it turns out to be harmful. As an influencer, there's no responsibility on your part whatsoever, because it's not your fault. You disclose, you did your part, which is to mention that it's an ad, you mentioned that it's a sponsorship, paid partnership, you mentioned that, so it's not your fault. As a result, unsafe, misleading content can be still spread, especially when audiences trust influencers more than official sources. So regulations exist in the UAE and it's strict, but when it comes to protecting people from harmful advice, it's still not enough.
Looking further into leadership and integrity, we know that nowadays influencers, they act as a digital opinion leaders, meaning that they have a strong influence over how people think and what they choose to buy. They play a major role in shaping the overall consumer behavior, especially on platforms such as TikTok, where trends spread very quickly. However, true leadership is not just about the influence. It also requires responsibility, honesty, and genuine concern for others. So in many cases, influencers, they fail to demonstrate these values, especially when promoting skincare products without proper knowledge or even a bit of consideration of the risks behind it. But instead, profit and engagement is often prioritized over the well-being of their audience. So this suggests that there is a lack of accountability in the digital marketing environment where influence is not matched with responsibility. So overall, this is not just bad advice, but it represents a clear failure of the ethical leadership.
And for recommendations to address this issue, several actions can be taken. For example, influencers should only promote products they have personally tested and ensure that their content is honest, transparent, and safe for their audience. They should also clearly communicate any risks and avoid recommending products that may not be suitable for everyone. For companies, they should take responsibility by partnering with credible influencers who prioritize consumer well-being. They should also avoid promoting products in a misleading way or encouraging unsafe usage just to increase sales or profit.
Now, as of the government, regulators should introduce stricter rules to monitor harmful or misleading content, not just focus on advertising disclosure. This could also include guidelines specifically for health-related content shared by the influencers. Now for TikTok, this platform should actively detect and flag unsafe skincare trends and potentially provide warnings or verified information to the users. Last but not least, for the consumers. Consumers should also think critically and avoid relying entirely on influencers for health-related advice. They should cross-check information with reliable sources such as dermatologists or medical professionals before trying new products or routines. Because at the end of the day, responsibility is shared between influencers, companies, platforms, and, of course, the consumers.
To conclude our video, influencer marketing is a very powerful tool that can shape consumers' behaviors and influence millions of people. However, when it is used irresponsibly, it can lead to real harm, especially in areas like skincare, which are the ones that we're tackling in this video, where health is directly affected. The promotion of unsafe skincare practices highlights the risks of prioritizing profit, popularity, and engagement over ethical responsibility. It shows how easily trust can be exploited in digital spaces where information spreads quickly and is not always verified. Therefore, greater accountability is needed from influencers, companies, and regulators to ensure that the content that is being shared online is both safe and truthful. Because ultimately, if we really think about it, trust can never come at the cost of people's health.
We had one challenge we faced, which was choosing the topic with both relevance and a clear ethical implementation. In the beginning, we explored multiple ideas and we realized that some topics were either too general or didn't have a strong ethical dilemma. We wanted something that had both current, reliable, and impactful, especially for our audience. At the same time, it needed to allow us to apply the ethical frameworks like utilitarianism and deontology in a clear way, balancing real-world relevance with academic depth, which made the decision choice process more challenging than we expected.
We also found it challenging to balance making the video engaging while still maintaining academic depth, because focusing too much on entertainment risked oversimplifying key concepts while prioritizing detailed academic content. Content made the video feel dense and less appealing to the audience. We had to carefully adjust our approach by simplifying complex ideas without losing their meaning, using clear explanations, examples, and visuals to keep viewers interested while still meeting the academic requirements. This balance required multiple revisions as we constantly evaluated whether the content was both informative, engaging at the same time.
For our storytelling approach, we focused on real TikTok trends to make the issue relatable and realistic. Instead of discussing the topic in a purely theoretical way, we used examples that people actually see on their daily feeds, such as viral skincare routines and influencer recommendations. This helped us connect the ethical concepts to real-life situations, making it easier to understand the impact on consumers. We also aimed to balance explanation with visuals and examples, so the audience could both see and understand how these issues occur in practice. Overall, our goal was to present the topic in a way that is engaging, clear, and directly connected to everyday experiences.
We also used credible sources such as dermatology insights and expert opinions to support our analysis, ensuring that our discussion was not only based on observation but also supported by professional knowledge. This helped strengthen our arguments and provided a more reliable understanding of the risks associated with unsafe skincare trends. We also referred to real-world examples and online content to connect theory with practice. Overall, this project helps us better understand the ethical responsibilities behind influencer marketing, especially how decisions made by influencers and brands can directly impact consumer well-being. It also made us more aware of the importance of accountability and critical thinking in digital environments.
At the end of the day, last but not least, we now know that influencer marketing is powerful, but with that power comes responsibility. As consumers place their trust in what they see online, that trust should never be exploited, because ethics must always come before profit. So, thank you for watching our discussion on the dark side of influencer marketing and unsafe skincare on TikTok. We'll see you next time.